Welcome to the Waiting List podcast. Tell us a story.
It's like many things you start building from scratch.
And then I'm like, wait, I really do like watches because
You've seen so many watches that makes you excited.
I think I really do like watches.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to see if you are a watch enthusiast. Welcome to another episode of the Waiting List podcast, where there's no guest today, and we are going to discuss the recent Watches and Wonders event, online and offline. We've got the whole team down today, including Alex, Jacqueline, and Long Long. And go to the website at thewaitinglistpodcast.com and make sure you follow our respective IG handles. Just putting it out there, don't bother wasting a follow on Alex. It's really not worth it. He rarely puts up any content, and what he does, I was actually going to say, isn't that great? But that's actually being really nice. It's actually just shit, right? And it's used to curry favor with all his like chums, right? But he is great to DM. So if you ever feel like you want to talk to somebody, get some life advice, ever feel bored or feel the need, he's your man. Ever the gentleman, he's always going to reply. Won't you, Alex?
Kind of, yeah. But sadly, I've got a life outside of social media, Daniel, so I don't use it often.
Okay, right. I'll ignore that.
Include his number on the website.
Having said that, he does switch on the James Bond charm if you are in the female demographic. You do.
No, I don't.
You do. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I want to know more about the Watches and Wonders. Can you get on with it?
Okay. Right. So let's not waste any more time talking about Alex. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So before we actually get into the watches, the event today is concluding in Shanghai. We're almost at its conclusion. What was everyone's general opinion of how well it went? Specifically, what did you enjoy and what did you dislike? So I think we'll do this in alphabetical order. So we'll go Alex, Jacqueline, and then Long Long.
You be talking about it because you actually had the live experience of those pieces, whereas we've just been watching from online.
Well, that's still an experience, but okay, I can go first and give you guys some thinking time.
Sure.
Okay.
So in terms of my experience online, yeah, absolutely awful, because there literally was no online experience for me, because I went onto the website, right, to try and see all these videos, or all this content, right? New releases. I'm sure you want to make a noise, right? I mean, it's beneficial for the brands to make a noise. And even if it isn't noise and it's just seminars, I just don't understand why you wouldn't open that up to more of the general public. But then I'm trying to look for where to go and see this stuff. First of all, it's not open. You just can't click on it. Yeah. Then I realized you need to log in. And then obviously before you need to log in, you need to register. Now, everybody will think, yeah, that's kind of standard, but you can't register without a brand invite. Well, that's my knowledge anyway.
That's what I found really weird.
So I'm like, okay, so that means I have to approach a brand, which isn't a problem, but it means like I'm asking someone for a favor or asking to do something that wasn't in, because I didn't receive an invite, full stop. So I don't know if I'm not even sure if the brands knew that they were supposed to do that. And so I didn't even have an online experience. I will say, however, I did go on to Watches and Wonders Weibo account, just Weibo, right, to see Long Long's interview with Langer. And I was able to watch it there. But I had to really, really dig for that. Like, to be honest, if it wasn't for Long Long, yeah, I would have given up. Right. But I really wanted to watch it, really wanted to, support and make some stupid comments. And, I really asked people. I actually went to the Hantan Culture, who actually do the whole event in Shanghai, asking for how to watch it. Right. Like, I think even you, Alex, asked me, how do I watch it? Right.
Exactly. I did.
I watched it on YouTube without any digging. You just put in Long Long's name and it was the first one.
Oh.
Yeah, I did watch it, but okay, let me talk about YouTube then. It's on YouTube. Chinese people can't watch that, right?
That is
so
true.
That's another thing, and so that was my experience. But what I want to say is, like, Alex, you're kind of a watch nerd. I would say, you're very aware of what's going on, and yet you have no idea of how to watch the stuff.
No,
Right, no idea at all.
No idea at all. I actually asked Daniel, how was it? Like, because he actually went to the events and he did go to those interviews. And like you said, I went to the Watches and Wonders website and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Actually, like the only one experience I think was the one that we kind of had experience was the AP one, where you could watch it online and it was really easy. So you just click a link, it's available on YouTube or the website, and that was a piece of cake. But with Watches and Wonders, I would have thought that, like you said, because there's no traveling allowed, they would kind of want to open up to the rest of the world where you can kind of click into different seminars and just watch it. I can't see why they can't share that content, to be honest.
Yeah. How about you guys? What do you guys think?
I totally agree with you. I think if you're supposed to replicate the brick and mortar store experience online, right? You think the store would like any store, the door is open, the new watches are there, anyone can walk in to try it. And then you can be selective what is exposed to the customer. So maybe let's just say you have AP Marvel and you don't want to show everyone. You have the choice to put it in the back room. So likewise, online, maybe there's a separate section with the different login, but generally everyone should be able to walk in and see this stuff. So it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I guess they kind of banked on the fact that people could go onto like other blogs, I guess, to read. Yeah.
What about you, Jack?
And that's basically what I did. Like, my source of information wasn't from them directly, but rather the media that was reporting what was happening, which is kind of sad, right? Like, the audience is getting the information from third parties and not from the event, like themselves. 办主商.
Well, I actually spoke to some brands, and I think, first of all, on that actual live stream event with Long Long, there were around 30 people on average watching it. And at the peak point, about 40. Now, I'm sure that's gone up since, it's been released as a video, but I'm talking about the live stream. And I think, Watches and Wonders, people wanting to watch that, it would be definitely way more if they actually knew about it, right? Didn't even know about it. That's one thing. Second thing, from the brand side, I did speak to some of the brands, and I'm not going to say who. They were like, okay, so I've done this thing on YouTube or done this thing on other platforms. Why did I just pay Watches and Wonders a shit ton of money? What did you do for me? Right? Like, you're supposed to do that. And I've paid you to be part of this thing, and you've done nothing in terms of like promoting it. I could have done it all myself. Right? So from a business side, I think obviously going live streaming and all this kind of stuff, I think is fantastic. I understand that there will be difficulties in rolling this kind of stuff out. But if I was to identify very clearly some improvements, first of all, have no login. Just be like a YouTube where you can have this site and you can go watch everything, and your place is the original content, and you have sharing facility, like to share it a lot across other platforms. And like I totally agree with Lang Lang. For the other stuff, maybe you do need some restriction that you don't want to show. You still want to retain some exclusivity, rarity for that feeling. And yeah, that's great. But you're right. I think Lang Lang's analogy of, if you're open for business, why are the doors not open? Right. At all.
Did you have to pay for Watches and Wonders entrance?
Okay, so moving on to the offline experience, you had to get an invite from the brand, right?
Okay.
So again, you have to invite from the brand, and then you have to submit your full name, your passport number, your telephone number, and your email and the sex. And then after that, you receive an SMS, and then you use that to click a link to register, and then pick the day and get your QR code for entry. But that was okay. I do think that could have been way easier, by the way. Like, I don't know why it wasn't done through a mini app on WeChat. That would have been the most simplest way. But you could only use your number once. So if you wanted to go for more days, you had to get another number. And that was confusing, because I went for 2 days And when I asked, nobody was sure if you could use the second number. We only realized it's because we weren't getting the second invite. And then I had to go to, you know, and ask for another invite by using a different number. Thankfully, I do have like, well, I've got 3 numbers. So that was okay. But otherwise, you know, yeah, it's not open to general public. Having said that, I think the event overall was a success in Shanghai. There were loads of people and there were loads of queues. So that's the bad side. So at one point, I think it was not uncommon for it to be an hour wait to get into Rolex, Vacheron, and even Lange had a queue, you know, like JLC had a queue. I'm just trying to think which brand didn't have a queue. Actually, Ulysses and Arden didn't have a queue. So it still was, I have to say, from a collector experience, it was very mixed feeling because, you know, I'm sure all of you, if you were going to Watches and Wonders, you would feel like a sense of excitement, right? Oh, I'm going to see novelties. I'm going to touch the pieces. I'm going to see, maybe meet people that are into watches. You know, it's total like watch paradise kind of thing, yeah? And, you know, I think generally Hantong did a great job in the time they were allocated to pull this thing off. But the atmosphere in certain places wasn't right. For example, I just said you have to wait an hour and then you guys are already shaking your head, right? Like who's realistically people that can afford this stuff, like the expensive pieces, who's going to sit there like waiting, right? So that was an issue. But then when you get into the booth, you can't touch the pieces. They won't take them out. Like so you waited all that time and you can just see them in the glass display.
Not like nobody.
Huh? Yeah.
Nobody allowed.
Well, let me say this, like some brands, they didn't even have their novelties there.
So they're just pictures.
So you queue up for an hour and you have nothing
No,
there.
they were just from the normal stock list.
Oh
So,
my God. Wow.
who were the
That's
kind of people
terrible.
going? That's what I want to know.
This is also that's a good question because that's why I came out with mixed feelings, because you had a whole bunch of media trying to promote the whole thing.
Yeah.
You had a crap ton of like Wang Hong. So those are like Chinese KOLs, which are like mainly girls that are dressed very, well, actually pretty hot, actually. They're all hot. And they're just there to take the picture of the watch. Then you've got some people that, like us, collectors going around wanting to see the pieces. But I think that in general, you know, we were a minority. And therefore, you know, when you've got so many people walking around, some aren't interested, you know, you want to take your time looking at the piece. You know, even if you're considering buying the piece, it's very rare that you'll look at the piece and I want it now, right? You want to actually spend some time, understand the piece, maybe talk to some salespeople about it or someone about it from the brand, get to know it, maybe come back later, you know, build that relationship.
Yeah.
That takes time. But you feel rushed. Yeah. And you feel like you're on a conveyor belt when you're actually in the booth. So you're like following this queue to look at these pieces. And I feel that the brands were very much really pushed in terms of to their tether because they just didn't have enough staff, you know, to deal with the load. I think it's a great thing that so many people went to see this, by the way. You know, it's a great thing for watchmaking, for all the brands to come together. But to have that kind of experience, it wasn't the most pleasurable, I would say.
So which
conducive
booth?
to buying watches.
Which booth left the most impression on you?
For me, yeah. Forget the pieces. I would say with JLC being at the 90th anniversary.
Oh, JLC.
Yeah. The piece that was there with that quadruple faced watch was there. And also they had a few enamel dials and stuff like that. They had some really good looking pieces. That was really good. But this is again another thing, like not all the brands went there for the same reason, right? And I'll go into that in a minute. The second brand I liked was Rolex. Not because of my experience. Like, first of all, it actually looked pretty good. Like, in terms of what it was supposed to do, it looked good, right? They have budget, it looks good. But just to see Rolex there, traditionally that don't do these kind of things with it was just like, wow, Rolex is here. You know what I mean? Like, the biggest watch brand is here. They had the best spot. It was just that whole feeling of Rolex being here was just really, really just elevated the whole of, I have to say, elevated the whole event. I don't think it would have been the same without Rolex branding in that event. And then who did I else think which was strong?
Was Patek there?
No, Patek wasn't there.
You see, I'm not the one.
Otherwise, I would have said Patek straight away. But yeah, I would say those two really stuck in my mind. But then again, those two brands, their motive was very different. So JLC treated it as a total B2C event where you could buy the pieces. They were trying to get the pieces out for you, and you could touch them and take the pictures, right? So it's they treat it like consumer event, right? Communications, all of that. Other brands, it was a B2B event. So Rolex was a B2B event. So you had a section where the general public could go and see the pieces behind a glass cabinet after queuing for half an hour or an hour. And then there was another section which was taped off, which was where all their retailers had their meetings with Rolex. So my understanding, because I spoke to the GM, was that yesterday was the last day of meetings for the retailers, and today was just a consumer day. But they were there strictly to do business. And yeah, I think Cartier were definitely up for sales, but then they at one point, they weren't letting some people in. And I don't know exactly what the reason. I heard what the reason was, but I don't want to say it because I can't say it's true. Yeah. So
were the pieces on sale? Or
yeah, the pieces were on sale. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? You had Rolex coming up to you saying, "Okay, can I have a look at this watch?" No, I can't take it out. Well, can I buy it? No, talk to the retailers. So I was like, okay. So, and even Rolex insiders saying this is it's the first time I've ever seen so many Pepsis together, Daytonas together, and I'll never see that again. Yeah, but I did get to see, obviously, to some extent, the pieces in the flesh. And I will say, actually, I didn't go to all the booths because of the amount of people there. If I didn't have a strong affiliation with that brand or really didn't want to see the novelty, I didn't actually go into that brand, right? So I didn't actually go into UN, right? I didn't actually go into Roger Dubuis, and I didn't go into Panerai, right? So yeah, I actually have to say, perhaps the most pleasurable experiences were with the independents on the second floor because they were totally open. They spent the time with you, although they were totally rushed off their feet. They actually engaged a lot more, I felt. And because maybe you're running a smaller team, they probably tend to know more about the product and know how to talk about it. And it just felt a more, just better experience.
Intimate experience, right?
Yeah, intimate. Yeah, I think that's generally in a nutshell. Oh, the seminar room. That's something I liked. To be able to sit there and hear discussions of watchmaking, right, and take a time out away from all the hustle and bustle is actually, I thought, quite good. And then you have a Q&A. I would really enjoy that. If that developed and became, certain people like, Aurel Bax did come on virtually, but someone like him, he was physically there, or Jean-Claude Biver, you can imagine how packed that would be and how, as a watch collector, I would be totally in for that. Yeah, like I just sign up. And I just sit there.
I'm still confused about something. So one, you can't touch the watches because of COVID or because they just decided to design it this way? Because it just takes too
It's
long.
not because of COVID, because some brands
Okay.
would let you touch the watches.
Okay. And
So
then,
that, yeah.
yeah. And then the kind of people that showed up, like you said, there's probably like maybe 10% of people actually love watches and they're collectors, right? So everyone else is going there like as an event, just for fun, like to kill the weekend. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the brands, again, not inviting their VIPs down because they don't want their clients to go to other brands. So they were having offline events. Yeah, they were having offline events at different places. That's why their novelties weren't there, because they were trying to sell what novelties were at that other event away from Watches and Wonders, right? So that they could show their VIPs there.
Interesting.
So it's separating the VIPs, protecting their database.
Yeah. Did you say that last year? Like, it was virtually the same thing where they have the one main place where they gather and another place where they have private dinners. That was the same as last year, wasn't it?
Yes. I didn't actually this time go around digging like which brand was doing it, but I know brands were doing it. Yeah, like they were doing it away from the event. Actually, Rolex told me straight up they didn't invite any end consumer. Yeah, so to them it was a B2B event, right? I did ask, will this continue? Are they looking to do this in long term? And they were like, I'm not sure yet, basically. So everything's like up in the air. But yeah, generally a good experience. You see a lot of people there that you know. I think it would have been absolutely fantastic to go down with you guys and have a massive laugh, get some food, and chill out and discuss the watches. That would be really, really great. But otherwise, yeah, that was pretty much it.
It's
neat.
Oh wait, so how did the general public find out about the event and then go through that whole like registering and everything? Where were the ads?
There weren't ads.
So how did they find out?
Like
were they paid by the event to show up?
That's what I was thinking.
Actually, that's a lie. Actually, now I'm thinking about it and actually processing the question. I think Hantong used a lot of KOLs and media to promote the event before. Yeah. So you did see the banner and you knew it was happening, but it wasn't that clear to know where you get the tickets. I mean, I had to sort out tickets for at least like 30 people.
Yeah.
Right. So
ticket man.
Yeah, I became the ticket man. I mean, I could have been ticket touting at the end of it.
No, but to answer my first question, did you have to pay for it or was it just free?
No, you didn't have to pay for it.
So exactly. So why didn't they just open up to the public then if the event was free anyway?
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it either.
Because I thought, yes, if you had to pay for entrance, then maybe they didn't want to have too much content out there because then it might limit the amount of people physically going there. But since it's free, it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, I think, having said that, if there had been more people down there, it would have been an absolute like mosh fest. It would have been like, just forget it. Like, it would be sort of the thing that Long would go and say, "All right, I'm leaving." Like, actually, she would make a beeline for the food, and then she would have definitely left because she would have seen these small canapes, and she said, "These aren't going to fill me up."
No, but to be honest, when you were describing it, I was thinking about IKEA. The fact that, right? Like, if you go to IKEA in Hong Kong, it's just packed on the weekends and people are just sitting there because there's aircon and the sofas. And then plus at Watches and Wonders, they give off, this is why I asked you about drinks, just even bottled water. If you have aircon, a nice environment, and it does look really nice from your Instagram stories, and you have nice watches and booths and seats and everything, I can see a lot of Chinese people just being like, let's just hang out here for a bit.
No, that's exactly, in the places where you could like hang out and eat and there wasn't any food but drink some water. This is what I mean. I noticed 很多闲人 like 很多 like that means very, how do you say 闲人 like
bored people
有没有就是那种有没有大叔大妈在那里就是闲逛？
有啊，就是有啊。
Yeah, exactly. So people have too much time on their hands, basically.
Yeah. So I was like, they don't look like watch people. Are they watch media people, or do they work in the watch industry or something? Because they don't look that interested in watches. You know what I mean? But what you are doing is you're taking up all the seats.
Yeah.
You should ask them and go, hey, what are you doing here? Do you know about watches?
Yeah.
And then,
But also the venue itself was very tight. So it's literally like booth after booth after booth. And they put in more money than they did last year. So the booths were way bigger. I actually think the second floor was totally underused. That's where the independents were. But I think that's what they said, like second floor, another price. Yeah. First floor, one price. And that's why they put everybody down on the first floor, right? And I feel that, yeah, the second floor could have been better. There was actually more engagement stuff on the second floor where brands did their more communications, but there was just no one there around. It's literally like a board, and there's no one there to really explain anything, and therefore it didn't really get much attention.
Was there like an auditorium?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the auditorium was, like I said, like the best place for me in terms of like for the seminar, which I attended. I actually only attended one in the end, which was Kelvin's talk.
Yeah.
The acoustics weren't great because I think the hall, the shape of the hall. So I was actually started off sitting at the back.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, by the way, it was big hall, like a lecture hall, right? And it was full. Like there were like enough people there listening to these talks, which was fantastic. You know, if you're trying to get more people into watchmaking, this is like great.
But again, we're questioning: are they there to listen, or are they there because those
the
are the only
air conditioning.
and seats.
Yeah.
And seats.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's put it this way: full at the start, half empty by the end.
Okay.
Right. And I think, you know, whole live streaming thing, great idea. So hats off to the organizers. I think they did what they needed to do. It's all a learning experience, having all these people. Oh, I would say going ahead, I would prefer, or I think it might be an improvement, if you had like a registration iPad or something, a few of them outside the booth, where you could register for a time slot there. Once that, and then you'd have a maximum, let's say 50 people or 20 people, or like 15 people per one brand person. You go there, everybody does a tour, and the guy's talking to 15 people, and then you leave. Because then you would know, okay, I'm not waiting. I've actually pre-waited and put my name in there. I'll turn up, right? The brand, as soon as all these people are coming, you've got one guy going there, one guy over here, one guy over there, one guy over here. It's so hard to manage like that, right? And the general experience, I'm sure from a brand point of view, isn't how they want to communicate their brand, right? So I think you can control it that way, much better. So I think that would be more conducive.
wanted
and you
to
would
ask-
probably less queues as well.
Like which independents were there?
You had Moser, you had Arnold and Sons. Arnold and Sons, sorry. And then you had Cecil Purnell. You had Ferdinand Berteau. No, Erwick wasn't there. And you had Armin Strom. So how many that's like 5, right? Yeah. So obviously independence is where it's at for me. So like,
Yeah, I
you
saw
wanna
your
see that
story
kind of stuff.
yesterday. You were posting like the Moser and Arnold and Son.
Ishmoza. Yeah.
I gotta like, this isn't me sucking up to the brand, but actually Moser did a good job on customer service. I felt valued. I felt the communication the atmosphere was fine. You know, they really got that down really well, and they were super busy. Yeah, and I want to say there was this girl that wasn't the one that would sit down and talk to you. So she was like the one that hovers and kind of engages you before someone then takes over. And she was, like, so you would say kind of like more of a minor role, right? But she left one of the biggest impressions on me. Like, she must have been knackered, right? Because she was wearing sneakers. Yeah. Like, so her feet must have been hurting.
I was like, don't judge. Maybe that's her style.
But she had a smile on her face. She was enthusiastic, you know, and I actually want to message Bertrand and actually single her out because she did a fantastic job.
You should.
Right. Yeah, I will do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just that her alone was like, wow, you know, because she actually seemed to like what she was doing. But she for her, it was very clear that, you know, you are the most important. Your experience to me is the most important. But it was done in a way that was not pushy, or it's just great. She was really good. Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like a overall like still a pretty good experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you definitely go again. I think there's lots of elements that it was better than last year, so it's improving. I hope it stays because I would love this kind of thing. You have people covering from all over China coming to this event. If it was open to Asia, can you imagine you guys would be coming over as well? Yeah. And it would be like, basically we would plan a whole weekend there, and it would just be so much fun. Yeah. But
me and Jacqueline will bring our own folding chairs. You know, the ones which are like walking stick but double as a chair.
No, you know the ones. No. The ones with
suitcase
you know
chairs.
the armrest with the hole for water bottles. We're gonna bring those.
Oh,
One
I
on
will
each
say
side.
though, I'm walking around, right? And I think some, you know, you guys have had recent experience of this. I got people recognizing me. Yeah, going, hey, you're thingy. Yeah, and I'm like, who are you?
Thingy.
Like, yeah, like I'm like, so you can't walk. For me, I was just getting stopped a lot. I was just like, I just want to see the watches. You know, you feel so rude not talking to them. So yeah. But how did your thing come about, Long Long? You know, the whole Lange interview thing.
So I know they just reached out and they just said, do you want to do the talk? So I thought, why not? Like in my mind, if any interview doesn't take up too much like time and effort, I feel like it's free. You're doing like, you can actually contribute to the industry by doing very little. So for me, it's like, it's brainless. Just do it, you know?
I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. Thanks. I think they're really professional. And even like the event they did in Singapore to show the new releases, I was like, wow, this is done really, really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Actually, I had some great feedback from your little live stream from people that I didn't know watched it, and they spoke to me about it, and they said that you spoke really well. They like really enjoyed your segment particularly.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, they weren't maybe as flattering as the other people, but they said like it was a bit of a weird mix because you came from a collector point of view, and then you had like this retailer, and then you had someone from the brand. It's a bit of a weird mix. But you've also been to your
really well.
Yeah,
I remember I was watching it, and then first of all, the live stream was done really professionally because I thought it was just gonna be, 4 faces on the screen. But when it was Long Long's turn, it was her entirety like taking up the screen, and then when it was all 4 people, like you can actually see the sofas, like the setting, and then the two guests in like frames. I thought that was so nicely done. I don't know, like Long Long, you probably didn't know it was because you were probably just looking at like what was your view when you were talking to them?
So I basically see what you guys see. But then it's really difficult because on Zoom, right now, as we record this, it's like divided into 4.
Yeah.
But then when I speak on their platform, which is called like vMix or something, it's the same. Like my whole face would like fill the screen. And then that's why I keep looking down and looking around, because it was so strange to look at yourself, like fill the screen.
It's like a mirror, basically.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I would have done differently was because Singapore is open. And so at that point, the other girl, Beth, was in London, and I'm sure because she has access to Harrods and the boutique and everything, I think they should have made the backdrop consistent. So they should have recorded me at the Lange shop in Singapore, and then recorded her in the Lange shop there. So the backdrop would all be cream white. Yeah. That's the only thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
well,
but
I did
otherwise, I
notice
thought
that,
they did a good job.
I did notice that the lighting for Long Long was darker than for Beth, and that you could really see that contrast.
Yeah.
So, but how was also your experience going to the offline events, Long Long? Because you went to your fair share.
Amazing. So like you, I think about a year plus ago, I walked into the Lange boutique in Ion. I wanted to this was before I even got the datograph. So it's more than a year already. So it's before I got my datograph strap, and I was looking for a strap, and I walked in and I met this guy called Keith. And it turns out that Keith was the manager there, but I didn't know this. He was just super friendly. And I said, look, I'm not looking for a watch. I'm actually here to look for a strap. And then it's the first generation. It's not the second generation, blah, blah, blah. And he was super busy. The whole store was getting renovated. But he said to me, come to the back. And he took out straps for every single watch and the old straps that he said, look, this is usually not for sale, but take a look and everything. And he was so nice that I remembered him. I actually remembered him. And I for some reason, I just, I said to him, I'm not the kind of person that's going to keep revisiting the store for no reason. But if I ever come back to Singapore, I will stop by. And then I just never went back because COVID. And then at the event, so Singapore's currently capped at 8 people per section. And he was at my section. So we were sitting on sofas. And then I looked at him, and it was one of those moments where it's like, he obviously does not remember me. And then we kind of look at each other, but I was like, hi. So I introduced myself, and he's like, no, I remember you. And I said to him, do you know I still remember you? I still have your number saved in my phone. And if I ever have a chance to go to the headquarters, I would definitely bring him up because he's so good that I can just remember him. Like he didn't need to serve me because he wouldn't have gotten like a commission out of like anything, but he really went out of his way to show me straps, which were old, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I told him about that.
Great.
And yeah, and the way that the whole event was done, you didn't feel rushed. They circulated the watches. So it's like every table would have some of the watches and then would take turns. So it was done really well. I really, really liked it.
How
Yeah.
does it feel to reach like a milestone in your life, you know, being on YouTube with an elite club like Andy Chang, you know, immortalized in Lange YouTube history? You know, how's that landmark thing? Are you going to celebrate it with a watch purchase?
Definitely not. You know what's funny is I was telling my cousin, okay, so one, it's, you know, like you guys know, like we don't take Instagram or like this kind of stuff like too seriously, right? But I've always thought every time I've done something considered huge, like say New York Times and then this and everything, it's always been very can't think of the word, but it's like it just feels like any other day. You kind of expect so much to come out of it, or like you feel like you're going to hit a high, but actually you're just like, all right, it's just any other day. And then you just kind of like, all right, yeah, nothing.
I feel like that's
Don't
because
feel anything.
because like our attitude is so like we are at ease with ourselves. Like we know that we're in it because of, you know, like everyone here, and you know, if we have these opportunities, obviously it's good, but like we don't take ourselves too seriously. Yeah. It's also like why I was it was so funny during the event. I was watching it and Long Long was just giggling. Long Long was just like, you can hear her giggle.
I know.
And then like offbeat, like after the guy says something, she'd be like, I'm like, oh my god.
No, I actually have so much to say. I feel like between the four of us, I genuinely am so excited about a lot of the things that he was saying that I wanted to butt in. But then I kept thinking, okay, this is not the podcast. Like, you know, you have to wait for your turn.
So funny. Because I know why you giggle. Like, you're like, like, is this the right time? Okay, let me feel the silence. Oh my god.
Right. Jacqueline, you also did your little piece with ACM. How did that come by and stuff?
Oh, not after Long. Come on. That was how did that come by? It was like Russell from Uncollected Man reached out and wanted me to ask me if I was interested to do like a little collaboration with, you know, 4 other collectors. And I was like, yeah, sure. And it was just, you know, a short paragraph of what I enjoy about like the date disc or a date window. So then I just had to pick a watch, asked him if anybody else has picked that watch so it wasn't redundant. And he was like, no, it's all good. And then I went off my little like creative path and I wrote something with references, and I'm hoping that people got the reference. But that was basically it. It was very straightforward, very easy. Yeah. The
How do you
photos.
how do you see this, like, doing this media stuff for like extra exposure? Obviously, Long Long, it's all about bringing attention to herself because she loves herself. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
I was like,
Actually, her main aim,
yeah.
is to get enough
get
fame
food
so that when she
sponsored,
gets
yeah.
to the restaurants, she doesn't have to
Yeah.
pay. Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
her aim, right?
No,
That
no.
is.
The only reason why she
Yeah.
did the Long
Yeah.
event is to get free straps. How do I?
Did you get a
say
free
it?
strap, Long Long? Did you actually get a free
No, she got
strap?
more than that. She got a free
Oh,
I
manufacturer
got a free,
visit to Langer, and then also,
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, just-
seriously?
yeah,
That's
now
what
I'm
they
jealous.
said. Yeah, well, that's what I asked for.
yeah, that's what you asked for, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
but
I'll do
until
this
I get to the
interview if I
factory,
get
and
a
I was
free
like, I have a
travel.
whole list of watches I want.
You could have said to them, I would like an Odysseus without bundling.
You know what? You know, I actually thought about in my head. I had so many historical pieces I wanted, but I was like, what if I name those pieces and they don't know which watch I'm talking about?
Like
Again, fair.
Yeah.
like when you went to the
Yeah.
Cartier and they were like, "What are you
Yeah.
talking
What
about?"
are we talking about? Yeah.
I had a similar experience at
yeah.
Cartier, by the way. Like when I went to the booth, I was asking them about the
Yeah.
privé, the cloth,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you just look at, when the guy doesn't
That
know.
blank. They just look blank. Yeah.
They're thinking what to say. The
Yeah.
gears in their brain are kind of think, okay, how do I get out of this? There's a little
Yeah.
flicker of movement in their eye because naturally when you think, your eyes will go up, right?
Yeah.
You see that, and then you think, okay, I won't make it hard for him. I'll think, oh, okay, okay. But
I
I
just
think,
went to
more training. Maybe.
I just went to Philips, and then they only have one person in Singapore. I didn't know this. They only have one rep in Singapore, so everyone else in the room actually works for the hotel, but they're all wearing suits, so you can't tell. And then he's like, "Can I help you? What do you want to look at?" And within the booth, there was only one work. So I thought I don't even need to name the reference because there's only one. So I was like, okay, the work. And then he was like, or what? Can you just give me he was like, can you just give me the number, like the sticker number? And then after he kept doing that. And then after a while, I was like, do you work for Philips? He's like, nah, I just work for the hotel. I was like, oh, okay.
Was it the entire catalog or was it just a few?
Because just the whole catalog. I tried everything because I'll be like
the
Daytona.
whole catalog.
No, because they don't work there. Like none of them. They work for the hotel.
Oh my
they only
God,
have one
I'm
rep
so
for
jealous.
Singapore. I'm more jealous because I'm thinking. I literally told my friend, man, I want to work for Philips for fun. Because there's so
why
much
can't you?
Because there's so much that I want to explain about the watch to people.
Why don't you do that while you're in Singapore? Like get involved somehow and just like go in for fun.
That's what I thought. Because I looked at the people and I was like, damn, like nobody wants to be
know.
here.
Yeah. Wait, so you saw the World Time?
Yeah, the World Time. God. But that kind of World Time, like they have those versions and the pocket watches and everything in Hong Kong previously. And I can tell you, the first thing I told my friend when I left was, damn, you really got to go to Hong Kong when they do these previews. The vibe, the feeling is completely different. Because when I had scheduled my thing, it was 4 to 5, 1 hour. And I knew in my head, okay, I definitely can do 1 hour. It's way too short, but they give you this time frame. So I'm like, whatever, right? But it wasn't even that because I think 30 minutes to 40 minutes into it, I was like, okay, I'm done. In Hong Kong, you can sit there for hours, like 3 hours easily and be like, I'm ready. Like you sit down and you go through every single watch. You have the catalog. You actually want to see everything and learn and try and find new pieces you haven't seen. But Singapore just felt, it was kind of like, it kind of felt like if you had, what are those sales called? Like a factory outlet where you kind of go in and you're like, okay, yes, no, 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 yes. And then you're like, okay, done. Bye. Yeah.
I see.
I mean, I've been to the
why,
preview in Shanghai and Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong experience is very different, but you've got real. like specialists there. You've got Thomas there, you've
Yeah.
got Shoya, you've got Ziong, you know, got Jill. They know so much about the watches. And I think also they know us really well.
Yeah.
So we can sit there with the catalog behind the counter, even behind the counter, right? And then just slowly get piece after piece and go through it and look at it. And if you have any questions, you can ask them. So that experience is really, really strong. Yeah. But in Shanghai, they still, they have to hire external people to help, but it's hard because, you know, watch knowledge isn't something you can just read in like a week or two and then know what you're talking about. You just haven't got a chance, really. And if you're not passionate in it, it would be torture to do that, right?
Exactly.
So I understand the difficulties in this echelon where vintage watches, knowledge is the premium, right? That's what you're paying for.
And Philips also knows the previous owners as well, so they know stuff beyond just the watch. They know all of the history and who owned that particular piece.
Yeah,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I'm so
You're gonna
jealous.
experience all of that, Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Chill out, man. Yeah.
No, I just feel like I'm not going to. Like, these pieces are going to be sold, and then they'll probably like never surface again. Like the JCB. How are you ever going to see those watches again?
Okay, let me tell you.
You never
something.
know. You never know.
Exactly.
Like you could be in China having dinner, and the person next to you is wearing it, and you're like, oh, it's actually him who bought it.
Yeah, I would say. When I first started on my watch journey, right, I don't think it's a secret because I told many blogs as well. You know, I started with a WeChat account because I just wanted to think some brands might lend me some watches to wear.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see all this stuff that I've seen and touched. So you just never know, Jack. And I will say, you know, interesting watches, they always appear. There's not a lack of them. You know,
really
there's always something to grab your
time.
attention.
I really want to see the world time.
Right. But now, you know, now we're on to watches finally. What other pieces that everybody came out of Watches and Wonders, and also, you know, brands not affiliated with Watches and Wonders who did their new releases, what stayed in the mind? So, Alex, do you want to go first?
I don't want to go first. I want to.
Alex, you're a bit useless today. Like,
no,
absolutely useless.
Well, okay, I'll go directly to the one I think that's probably taken the most heat, which is the APX Marvel.
I knew you'd love that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to love that. No, well, I'm gonna talk about this one. I want to do a bit of monologuing because it's the only one that I had proper experience of. So I actually saw the event on like YouTube because I was working and watching it online, and actually I had quite an impressive cast. Like they had like Luhan, LeBron James, Serena Williams. And you was like, okay, that's quite an interesting thing. And when they released the watch, I saw it and I thought, oh no, like I was hoping. The thing is, like, you know, I mean, okay, I'm gonna talk about it from an objective and subjective point of view. Objectively, right? Let's get rid of the Panther for a moment. It's actually quite an interesting watch because, like, 42 millimeter flying tourbillon. The level of detailing inside it, made by Pappy, and for the price, it's cheaper than the normal concept watch. Yeah, much cheaper than the normal concept watch. You think, oh, okay, brilliant. But subjectively, it's difficult. It's
difficult.
Why?
Subjectively,
Explain.
No, because I have a strong affiliation with AP. I do like AP the brand, and I think when you push the boundaries, and then this is the way I'll put it. When you push the boundaries too far and you upset your regular customers, it is a bit uncomfortable. Now, after spending like a week or so absorbing the whole process, it kind of reminds me of the RM watches, like, you know, the RM26 and RM52, where they did the Dragon's Eye, where they did the face mask, the astronaut. So these are also very bold looking pieces. And if AP was trying to go down that route, you can almost understand why. But from a typical collector's point of view, I think is a bit too much. I think it could have been done like for their level of quality, much more subtle, and like put the Panther at the back would have done the trick. I would say it would still cause a lot of arguments. But I think, let's say it's 80-20, so 20% of people might actually like the watch, right? And 80% don't. If they put the Panther at the back, you might get the reverse happening, where 80% of people might like it and 27% of people don't. But the main thing I really want to understand is how many, and I won't tell you this, but how many new clients, if this is the whole point of doing the APX Marvel collaboration about, how many new clients would they gain into the brand? That's something that we won't be able to know.
A lot.
That's the
like
is that
200 okay, like how many pieces were made? 250? 240, 240 new customers from Africa. Like seriously. Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like LeBron James, existing customer and brand ambassador. Oh, we do know like one guy in Taiwan got one. The Chinese guy. So that's 3. That's it.
Actually, there's two guys I know of.
I know 2 guys that got them.
I know 2 guys.
Oh, so shit. Yeah, we know one guy as well.
We know one guy, yeah.
Yes.
So, well, one of the guys, actually, I went in with AP House a couple of days ago, just briefly. His name, I won't say his name, Jackie.
Yeah.
And he
Jackie Chan, yeah?
He actually demanded one. He actually was giving such a hard time to Kevin and forcibly saying, you better put my name down for this because I really want it. And all of Hong Kong allocation was gone. So they have to ship one from overseas. That's if that's possible. And so he was desperately trying to get one. And I had another client of mine who actually was looking for that piece. So I was like, oh my God, it's actually quite a lot of interest. You'd be surprised actually how many people oddly like that watch, which I found quite odd.
Can I say that piece actually suits our mutual friend?
Who? The one that bought it?
Yeah. Do you not think
buys
so?
everything. Well, he buys everything, so it doesn't matter. Really.
But it does suit him.
What does everyone else want to say? Because I'll say. How about you, Jacqueline? Because you're totally into vintage stuff.
No, Jacqueline loved it. She kept spamming me. I was like, dude, it doesn't fit you. Like, stop.
I was like, Long, you gotta pull those AP strings for me, man. You gotta get me that piece.
Yeah, when you because it won't fit on your wrist, you're like, I can tie it around my ankle.
I was okay, but I don't want to, how Alex was like objectively, subjectively. I don't have an objectively opinion. I can only say subjectively because I don't have an affiliation with AP. Kudos to them for doing something new, and it's like a bold move, as Alex said. And but I just, every time I look at this watch, I just get reminded of the watch that I used to get when I was in grade 2, and I go to the KFC and I get like a KFC meal, and then you have to open up the plastic, and the plastic isn't good quality plastic, so it's one of those plastic bags. When you open it, it stretches like this, and it stretches really thin. You grab the watch out, and the strap is way too long, so it wraps all the side over, so you can see like the holes. Like, I don't know why, that's just my impression of it. But like, okay, that was mean. But then I have to say, and it never occurred to me until you brought it up, Alex, if they had done the Panther in the back and did it like in a mystery way, similar to the Snoopy that was released last year.
Subtle.
Yeah, that would be really cool. That would be like a mystery, like an Easter egg. If you know, you know. I just feel like the Panther's just too much in your face. And then we had this whole entire discussion last week. Why Black Panther? Why Black Panther?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why either.
Well, I was just talking to Nick about this actually, and he's a massive AP fan, and he said, "Oh, it's because a lot of the characters you can't use. They are like copyrighted with other merchandises. You can't use them, and how we thought it was based on the movies because the person Don, who was
Cheadle.
Don Cheadle was an actor from the movies, but actually Nick said it's not."
Chadwick
Based
Boseman.
on but it's not based on the movies. It's based on the comics. And if you look at the comics, like Black Panther didn't have a big role in the Marvel universe until really like the Black Panther movie made it what it is. But then is making the movie kind of their way of tackling untackled territory with their audience. I don't know. But
I can because I went to see the AP guy, so they gave me a bit of a backstory on it. I guess if you looked at their text, because they're using Wakandan text or something. Is actually to do with the royal family. So, Black Panther, they belong to a royal family. The royal oak also shares the same royal name. I think that was part of the story. They were also using the story of many generations, which AP is many generations. But you're quite right. The comic books I couldn't quite understand because Black Panther was an okay character in the comics, but he wasn't like the main guy, if that makes sense.
No, but I thought, and I didn't know it was based on comic books. I thought it was based on the movie, and Nick was like, oh, Ashley is based on the comic books. And I was like, oh, interesting, because I thought, like, it kind of makes sense why Black Panther, because of Chadwick, and also because of, the country Wakanda was the most highly technical, like, advanced in the movie, right?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like concept-y, and that kind of matches what AP is after. So I thought that was a good match until he was like, oh, it's actually based on comics.
I think it's amazing how deep you've gone into this. Like, I didn't think any of this. Like, how about you, Long? You have a very strong affiliation with AP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
what
didn't
did you
think any
think?
of this.
I didn't either. Nick told me. So
I was just like, fuck, what?
Whoa, this is so good, Get me one.
So I think we had this kind of in our group chat, like before we recorded this Zoom call, right? I think the best thing for me when I went to see it was they had shown it in a...
They had food.
No,
that clear box. What is it called? What is that kind of plastic called?
Display box. Display box.
It's just like it's like a stand. Yeah, perspex.
Yeah.
It's just like a standard perspex, like clear box. And I thought, wow, AP should really make boxes like this for their limited editions. And I was really amazed by the box until I realized it was just for on display. So, no, I just I'm confused.
We shouldn't show our chat history to anybody.
Yeah. God. Okay, I do have to say though, I have nothing against just like voicing my opinion and everything and just saying what I think. So obviously I'm shocked by it, but I just think that people should kind of like shouldn't get so angry because it's not like the brand is attacking you. They didn't design this watch to irk you. Like everyone's taking it very personally and getting really mad on Instagram, but it's just like, dude, it's just a watch. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And some of them were saying, I want to sell all my watches. Like, please do, because I want to buy a black ceramic perpetual calendar. So if you're planning to let go of that, let me know. I'll buy it all.
Oh my God.
Well, I think, we're going to conclude this segment, but I feel that, it does show that how angry people are, that affiliation, that connection you have with a brand and why you want to invest in that brand. It is a relationship with that brand, and therefore a relationship is kind of two-way. So to feel angry about it, I get it, but I also get Long's point. In the grand scheme of things, it's just a watch, right? And you can actually go buy different watches. For me, the product isn't for me, but then I'll tell you right now, that product wasn't targeted to me, right? It was used, for me, it was a clearer definition of a shift in brand image and maybe where AP is going in the next few years with, their branding and who they want to target to. And I actually feel from a business point of decision, it's a ripe area. I feel that there is a target market there, which is ripe for a brand like AP to take advantage of. Obviously, I felt, if we talk about heritage and all that kind of stuff that we all love as, seasoned watch collectors, I would have hoped that there was enough space for like AP, Vacheron, and Patek. To be honest, Patek is right at the pinnacle where I don't think is really that replaceable. But I think in terms of market, I thought there would be enough. But I think where they're attacking now, more mainstream, maybe one would argue, there could be more revenue in that, right? And they could lock their image in that segment very successfully. So for me, it was just a clearer definition of where they want to go. Even the purple they used, it's really sharp, very eye-catching. And then if you look at their new releases, with the Fume dials on the 1159s, which they've, really upgraded. And then also the green, when people are calling Moser dial on the AP, again, super eye-catching. So clearly probably aimed at a younger demographic, right?
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense, right? The only thing that doesn't make sense is, last year they did the remaster, which is a queue for vintage watches, right? So that's a little bit confusing from my side.
Mm. Interesting.
Like I mentioned, Daniel, I think when you're doing business, you have to be, like you've said, very careful about your existing client base, and because you've built that reputation, but you could only push that boundaries so far. But when you do so, you just have to be aware of you are going to upset a lot of people, and maybe AP's in that position where they don't mind if they upset a few people because they're trying to grow the business rather than stagnate. Because they could do the same, like 5-7-Elevens, just keep the same, do the very boring stuff, make the same things that keep on working. But I think there is a time where you have to kind of step out your comfort zone, and this has certainly created something.
Yeah, I agree.
A buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would actually argue, right? Seasoned watch collectors, small market, high, maybe they spend a lot on watches, right? But if you want to bring new people into watches, you've got to realize how it fits into people's lifestyle. It's a lifestyle product. Yeah, it does do that, right? So, we're all talking about, they need to stop making Royal Oaks. They kind of have, they've gone and done something different. And then I don't really, I take social media with a pinch of salt. I love reading the comments. They make me crack up. The whole 630 thing, it had me in like on the floor, right? But you're never going to get anything decent out of social media, man. Like, it's so reactive. It's all going to be negative. Right. I think, that's a different topic. I think social media needs to be doing way more things than that. But yeah, what else? What did everybody actually enjoy?
The long days, right? I mean, but that was like, you already knew it was going to be good. By the way, I do think that if you look at Cartier, if you have enough revenue coming in from other things, say from the jewelry, right? Not the high-end jewelry, just like love bracelets and whatever, they have the ability to sustain like keeping the design standard. So then you can have stuff like the crash and the tank and everything. You're basically tweaking it, but then it's lasted how many years, this kind of design. So I do think it's possible just to stick to the same design. You don't need to do anything radical. And the thing with AP is it's just the timing of the drop. So the remaster to me makes sense because they did the remaster. You look at all the vintage prices started shooting up for the past half a year to 1 year. So you're like, whoa, without even actively trying to market the vintage pieces, they're rising in price. And then, so I think if they had just pushed this back a little, it would have been perfect. But then the other thing is, if you look at it, like Alex said, from a business perspective, if I ran the company, I would do what they did. Because you never have like a lack of supply of rich people who can be your new customers, like the next generation. You never lack that. So I would rather just cut off the existing customers and then reposition my brand and then make more revenue from the younger generation. Because he's running it like a business.
And no, I agree with Long because I think they're changing their business model because most brands, let's say Rolex and Patek, if you've got a very good track record and you've bought 10 watches, it's very likely you'll get the latest 5711 or whatever hot pieces are coming out. But with AP, they're trying to change that where not all of their watches are going to one particular or two particular collectors. They're trying to spread out so they can reach out to more people as possible. And I think their business model, whether that release or not, you liked it or not, they certainly command a much broader audience with basically much more power and influence. And I think that method of doing business is actually potentially more sustainable than Vacheron or Patek. So, I mean, I don't like it, but I can see if you look at it from this point of view, if they were to pair it against an RM, like I said, the RM26 or RM52, it fits, that particular Panther watch fits those two categories. And like Lungo mentioned, the remaster, it fits to the traditional, let's say, Patek 5172 chronographs. So, I think, it's uncomfortable, I would say, for a collector like us who we've got such a strong brand affiliation, seeing them broaden too much. But I think it's something that we have to accept because, to be honest, that's where they're trying to capture a new market. So, yeah. But other
Okay.
watches, I do like the Cartier watch. I like the green with the black face, but the crown, for some reason, they should have changed. They should have kept the jewel the same color as the dial color.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I think the crown is blue, is it? Typical Cartier. If you've got the red face one, then they use the blue. If you've got a green one, they also use the blue. I think keeping that consistent would be quite nice. Yeah.
Okay, so Cartier for you, Jacqueline.
Still the Vacheron, the perpetual on the white gold bracelet.
I gotta tell you about that Vacheron, man. I gotta tell
Is it
you
good?
about
Yeah, it's good.
No,
right?
no, I gotta tell you.
No, I was gonna say that if you look at Dan, you storied it, right?
Yeah.
I think you storied it, and you also storied the JLC. And I wanted to reply to your story, but I kind of thought maybe it's the filter. I actually wanted to say, why is the finishing like that? Like in a bad way. I was shocked. Yeah.
Really?
It's the
Tell me
lighting.
about it.
Yeah.
It's the lighting.
Spill the
right?
beans. Spill the beans.
No, okay. So with the JLCs, a lot of them you can take out that big one, the main piece. You can take it out. The VC, the one you're talking about, open worked one, that's the one I really wanted to see. Was in a glass cabinet, and you also they wouldn't take it out, right, to the general public. But I know some VIPs they did take it out, right? They took it out, but they wouldn't let you touch it. So what
So
they did
hold
was,
it.
no. So they put it on a cushion, a small cushion, right? And then you have these people holding the cushion like this, where it's not to look at the watch, right? Like it's in a tray. But two of those people, you had one of my friends, right? So two of my friends, one of them had a rainbow pavé Rolex, right? And the other guy had one of those crazy expensive RMs, which you know millions, They're holding this Vacheron on a little like cushion, trying to look at this like VC. But, you know, like I think you know, one of my friends came in and said, "What are you doing?" And the guy looks up at him and goes, "他不让我碰." They won't let me touch it. Like, I'm like, it's so funny. Like, it's just comical, right? Like,
It's like archaeology.
like where we take exclusivity and this kind of thing to another level where you do stand back and think, huh?
Why did I do that?
Yeah. But so I never got a really clear look with that watch. And the thing is, when I did ask, can you take it out? He says, no, we're not taking it out for anybody. And the thing is, the watch wasn't put back straight, so it was slightly not in line. So I was like I said in Chinese, 很明显给人动过呀. Like it's like you've moved it,
yeah.
so you must be taking it out. And he just ignored me. But that's a piece I would have liked to see. Yeah, definitely. And I think the JLC, the four face one, I do think when you look at it close up, the finishing, the complications in that, to put it in a case like that, where I would still say it's wearable. I did think it was just amazing, that piece. Like there's an enameling. Oh, it's just so good. Yeah. And then you look at all the other pieces that they had, very beautifully designed. In terms of something of interest in the booth, they had all these vintage pieces. So they had an original Reverso. They had this original like red burgundy one. You know, not the new one, the old one. And you see the colors and you're like, oh my God, that is so hot. Like in a smaller case, it was just so sexy. From a communication, I really enjoyed that. And they had like little explanations and stuff like that. So JLC and Vacheron, which I think is quite consistent with you guys. Well, you, Long Long, you kind of like the Elange, right?
Definitely. It's just so, oh my God, it's really beautiful. But then I always have to think nowadays, like when you buy something, am I going to look at it in 5 years' time and still appreciate it? And I don't think I will, because I think it's a completely different feel from just buying white dial, yellow gold. I think that will be very different. In 5 years, you'll still look at it and be like, hey, I can wear this.
Yeah, I agree.
The aventurine dial will be really nice for 2 years, maybe. And then there'll still be a piece that every time you go out, people are like, wow, show me. But then, okay. And then what?
Mm.
Right.
Very fair points. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But honest, this is completely off topic, but is there Sephora in Canada? There is. Yeah. So can you go to Sephora now and touch anything? Okay, you can. So Singapore, basically Sephora, right?
Yeah.
You cannot touch anything. So even up to, I'm not even saying trying on lipsticks. Like you have to point to the thing, and then they have to take it out, and then they'll do a swatch, which is like putting the color on the hand, right, for you, but not on your hand, on their hand, and then they'll show you.
No, for us, it's like you have a certain number of people, and then you just wait your turn, and then you can still go in and do like everything. That's so
Interesting.
funny. But how is their skin color the same as you?
I was trying to explain this to them, and I was
that's
like,
almost that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, there's no one here.
Yeah.
All right, I wanna wrap this up, right?
Yes.
And I want to finish off with Rolex. Rolex
Sure.
new pieces, right? What does everybody think of what they released? I'll
I
start
have
off
the
with-
tiger.
Look at your name. Look at your faces just drop, man. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
because I was like, that's perfect. I have the tiger with a diamond on the bracelet. I was like, whoa, nice.
I looked at that piece and I didn't think it was the
Yeah.
Eye of the Tiger wasn't the Eye of the Tiger I like. I wish it was a slightly darker one.
Okay.
It's a lighter one. Now I don't know
Yeah,
if
it's
that's going to
lighter.
be consistent across. I saw the Meteorite Daytona. Okay,
That's a lot nicer in your Instagram story. It looked really good.
that for sure is going to be hot. Yeah, but I would still go for the white dial, because I think it's more timeless. And the Meteorite, Jill, 很花, like it's very patterned, so it's not. I don't think it's nice to look at, like to read the time. I also, likewise, the JLC, they had a new like guilloche on their dials, right? Again, it's so bright and blingy. It's not that nice to. I feel like it's just constantly in your eye. The palm leaf, again, I think is going to be hot because it's the only one like that, and it's a new piece. I think it's going to be hot. I don't personally think anything. I just don't have any feeling towards it. I would say the hottest piece would be the 36mm Explorer 1. Great size. I think a lot of collectors are going to like that piece. Yeah, so that's my segment on Rolex. How about you guys?
I liked how they're going back to traditional sizes, and I liked how now they're given the option for buyers to choose whether they want the Oyster bracelet or the Jubilee bracelet. I think this is like the first time offering that option for people. And then what else is interesting? I mean, I guess we kind of talked about this last time, right? Like this whole new thought about green. Do you guys know that how Rolex always pair platinum pieces with blue dials? Like it's kind of like a thing.
Baby blue one, right?
Yeah, the baby blue. Say if you were to
Yeah.
wear the Daytona or the date just or the day date, and because it's platinum, you don't know, to an untrained eye, it might look like steel. But then if you see the baby blue dial, you know that it's platinum.
Yeah.
And then there is a special edition with the Arabic dial, day date.
Yeah.
Apparently that they like for the first time they changed that with a green dial, which took me by surprise because I thought always baby blue and platinum and Rolex were supposed to go in hand, and now they're like not messing, but they're switching things up and they're going with the green, but then they're already green because of Rolex. I thought that was an interesting move. But that just means that all the baby blue platinum pieces are gonna just fetch all-time highs now on the second-hand market. I thought the new releases, honestly, I can't tell you which one is my favorite. Definitely not the sorry, Long. Definitely not the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe if I were to get one, I would probably get the 36mm Explorer.
Is that the one with the orange hand?
No, the Explorer one, not the Explorer 2.
Oh, so just a, sorry, okay.
Just a
the
black,
time only.
just a black.
Yep.
And then I thought too many jewels on watches. Like they released an entire Day or Datejust line with just jewels, like diamond encrusted everything. Not really my style, but yeah.
You know what I was thinking? I actually thought, did the watch brands come up with crazier designs this year, knowing that everyone is just frustrated and being like, oh, with stock, potentially the world is opening up. So they want to come out and people will dress differently once the world opens up. And everyone will be flashier because they've been wearing pajamas for like a year.
Yeah.
So you want to go over the top, when you can finally come out again.
That's interesting.
I don't think that they can actually do that quickly, right? Like so I don't think a lot of those pieces that we see now, I think they were actually pre-designed a little while ago.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I was speaking to the Rolex GM. He said something really interesting. He said, before, Chinese consumers bought everywhere around the world, and now it's pretty much focused in China. And what we've realized in this short space of time is that the China market is actually far more mature than we actually realized. Because before it was all over and it was going around in the KPIs and the market research was in other regions, right? Because it's just buying, right? But now, because it's completely just China, they've realized that the tastes in China are actually far more more mature than they actually realized. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, huh?
Mm.
How about you, Alex and Long Long?
No comment. My stance on Rolex. So pass it to Long Long.
All right.
Oh, mine is, I've always liked the flashy pieces from Rolex. I think if there's anything gem set by Rolex, I think it looks really good. Like the way they've done the baguettes around the bezel, it's always like just flashy, but like it's clear, it's nice, it's just everything about it. Good size. Yeah. So I've always been a fan. Yeah.
So that ends the episode of the Waiting List podcast for Watches and Wonders. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure you turn up to the next one. See you guys.
See you guys soon.
Bye.
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 Thank you for tuning in to the Waiting List podcast. Hit the subscribe button, and the next episode will come straight to your phone as soon as it's ready. Whilst I'm here, please remember to leave a nice review and follow us on Instagram at the Waiting List podcast.